Don't expect us to come to your wedding. We're busy. My father wrote it on a sticky note. I ripped it up. Then I also ripped up the €5,200 lease agreement I'd negotiated for them. I unlinked my account from their utilities, electricity, water, gas, and transferred the title of their car to my name only to donate it. Don't expect us to come to your wedding. We're busy. That's what my father wrote on a sticky note. Not a text, not a call, a bright yellow sticky note stuck to my fridge like a crooked, arrogant shopping list. I stood there holding it like it was proof of something I already knew deep down. Maybe I did. Maybe I'd known for years and just refused to admit it. Still, reading those 8 words that cut deeper than any fight was like reading, "You were never the son we wanted." I remember exactly how everything else happened. I took the note, ripped it once, then again, and then into shreds. Then I grabbed the folder with the €5,200 lease agreement I'd arranged for them, a deal that allowed them to live in a 3-bedroom apartment for half its actual value. I ripped that up too. Shredded the contract, unlinked my account from their electricity, water, and gas services. Every bill they were too proud to acknowledge, every silent debt they pretended wasn't mine. And then I took the car, the 2016 Mazda CX-5 I bought them 2 years ago to help them get around, registered in my name because their credit history was a disaster. I drove it to a local shelter, signed the title transfer, donated it to an association that drives single mothers to their medical appointments. That same night, I changed the locks on my door. That should have been the end. But the thing about people like them is they don't leave you alone when you finally say enough. They make you the villain in the story they wrote, the scapegoat for their failings. And for years, I let them. For years, I carried the role of the silent helper, the loyal fool, the financial crutch. Until that note. That sticky note snuffed something out in me, or maybe it ignited it. Maybe it woke up the version of me that still had a spine. And this is the story of what came next. I wasn't always like this. I used to answer their calls on the first ring. I used to send my mother €150 via Bysum for groceries every 2 weeks. I used to fill their gas tank before they noticed it was empty. I used to pay the Netflix bill, the Spotify family plan, and the parking tickets my sister racked up and then denied. At one point, they owed me over €12,000. I never mentioned it. What for? I was the good son, the responsible one. Alejandro always sorts it out, they'd say. He's not a worry. They weren't worried because I was doing all the worrying for everyone. It started 2 years ago when Dad lost his job. He called it early retirement, but it was a forced layoff after too many customer complaints. Mom called it a blessing. Now we can spend more time together, she said. More time meant more bills, and more bills meant more messages. We're a little tight this month. Could you cover the heating bill? This winter's brutal. Your sister had some trouble with her card. Can we use your backup? It never stopped. The €5,200 lease agreement I'd arranged was meant to give them breathing room. Subsidized by my landlady, Beatriz, a client who owed me a favor. And still, they wanted more. My sister, Lucia, moved back in with them, just until I get back on my feet. That was 14 months ago. She also brought her boyfriend, Nicholas. He had 2 jobs, vaping and playing FIFA. They slept in my old room. Said it felt nostalgic. I laughed the first time I saw them in my bed, my childhood posters still on the walls. It felt like they'd colonized my ghost. And then things started to disappear. Small things at first. A €100 Amazon gift card I'd left on the dining room table for Dad's birthday. Then €300 vanished from the joint emergency account I'd set up to help them. I asked once, gently. Dad got angry. We're not thieves, Alejandro. Don't act like your money gives you the right to control us. I let it go, but I started paying attention. That's when I found the Facebook post. It was Lucia. She'd uploaded a selfie at a restaurant, not just any restaurant. L'Enchanté, the fancy French place she used to call ridiculously expensive. The caption, My love always spoils me. Hashtag nails did. Hashtag day night. Hashtag realmanpay. In the background of the photo, half blurred, was my mother, sitting at the next table, laughing with a glass of wine. My stomach dropped. I looked up the reservation list, using a fake email I'd created for Dad years ago. There it was. For diners. For €180 dinner charged to the same card I was paying their rent with. I printed the receipt, but I wasn't ready yet. I wanted to see how far it all went, so I let it continue. The following week, Lucia asked me for help with her credit situation. Said she'd messed up her history thanks to an abusive ex who opened fake accounts in her name. I nodded sympathetically. Then I ran a soft check on her history through a contact at a financial institution. No fraud, no fake accounts, just 4 unpaid buy now pay later debts. All for luxury cosmetics and concert tickets. All in her name. I didn't confront her. Not yet. And then came the worst part, the humiliation. Dad posted a prank video to the family WhatsApp group. Me, walking out of a store with a shopping bag. He zoomed in and added a sticker that said our errand boy and captioned it, "Guess who's picking up dinner again?" Hashtag thanks wallet. Everyone laughed. Aunt Carmen sent a crying laughing emoji. Uncle Javier wrote, "Glad someone remembers their role in this family." Mom didn't say a word. Lucia replied, "Tell him to get oat milk too. I'm out." I didn't respond. I just saved everything. Screenshots of the group. Exported the conversation. Uploaded the video, archived it. The last straw came a week later. I got a notification. My name had been used to open a new utilities account. Same address. Their apartment. But I'd just unlinked my card. I called the provider. They told me the account had been reactivated online using a saved version of my ID. The next time I was at their place, I checked the browser history on Dad's old iPad. There it was, my email, my password, auto-filled. They were digitally robbing me. Repeatedly. Shamelessly. That's when I realized it. They didn't see me as family. They saw me as an ATM that said, "I love you," after every withdrawal. The final scene before the explosion, I went over for dinner, supposedly casual. Mom was stirring soup, humming. Dad was watching TV. Lucia and Nicholas were blasting a TikTok video. On the counter, an envelope with my name on it. Inside, a single sticky note. "Don't expect us to come to your wedding. We're busy." No explanation, no context, just their final act of pettiness. I looked up. Dad didn't flinch. "Thought you'd want it in writing," he said, sipping his beer. Lucia laughed. "We're going to Marbella that weekend." Priorities, bro. That was it. That was the moment the switch flipped. I smiled. I left quietly. And then I burned every bridge they thought I'd never dare touch. They didn't know I was going to show up. The dinner invitation had gone out to close family only, but I'd already intercepted the message. Mom accidentally sent it to the old group, the one she forgot I was still in. I saw the date, the time, the guest list. They called it a celebration of us, meaning everyone but me. It was going to be Saturday, at the same restaurant where they drained my credit card the last time. Private room. Pre-ordered menu. Champagne on arrival. I RSVP'd under a fake name and booked the table next to theirs, in my name. It wasn't my first ambush, but it was going to be my last. I brought back up Lucia's ex-boyfriend. His name is Tomas, the same one she swore had cheated on her, assaulted her, ruined her life. He was tall, soft-spoken, and nothing like she'd described. When I contacted him, I sent screenshots and audio files from Lucia's hard drive, her own folders of evidence. He didn't ask why. He just said, "Tell me when and where." We met 30 minutes before the dinner. I handed him printouts, voice recordings, and copies of the fabricated messages she'd written about him. He brought something I didn't expect, a draft of a restraining order she never filed. She was afraid of him, not the other way around. He tucked the documents into a black folder and nodded once. "Let's break their twisted game," I said. The hostess tried to stop us. I smiled, showed her my ID, and said, "My name is on the reservation for the table next door. I'm joining my family." We walked in together. My mother's wine glass stopped halfway to her lips. Lucia dropped her phone. Dad just blinked, like someone had suddenly unplugged his brain. "Alejandro," he said, standing too quickly. "Right on time," I replied. "Thanks for saving me a seat." I pulled out a chair. Tomas sat next to me. I placed a USB drive on the table. "Let's talk about family," I said. I started with the video. Played it on the restaurant's screen. Lucia's voice, interspersed with snippets from her audio folders, the ones she never thought I'd find. In one clip, she said, "If Alejandro ever gets married, I hope they leave him at the altar." In another, distorted but traceable, "He's not family, he's funding." That's different. My mother gasped. My father slammed his fist on the table, but the playback didn't stop. Then came the screenshots, Lucia's edited messages presented next to the originals, a thread where she pretended I'd called her a parasite, altered from an actual conversation where I said, "I hope you're okay." Tomas opened his folder, laid out her whole scheme, photos, notes, a timeline written in her own hand titled, "If he leaves me." Point 1. Leak false assault accusation. Point 2. Send screenshots to his employer. Point 3. Destroy him with pity. My father stood again. "This is disgusting," he growled. "Where did you get all this?" I looked him dead in the eyes. "Your old laptop. The one you gave to her. You never wiped the hard drive." He looked at Lucia. She was pale, frozen. But I wasn't finished. "I'd like to introduce another guest," I said. From the entrance appeared Beatriz, the landlady whose name was on the €5,200 lease. She held a binder clip. She'd printed the account history and the forged lease renewal Dad submitted last month, the one still using my digital signature. "I didn't sign this," I said. "I revoked access weeks ago." She nodded. "And yet someone printed it, scanned it, and modified the file date to make it look valid." Mom's wine glass slipped from her fingers and shattered against the floor. I looked at Dad. "You forged my signature on a legal document. We gave you life," he hissed. "You owe us everything." I stood calmly. "You didn't give me debts. You gave me silence and damage I have to unlearn in therapy." Then I pulled out the final exhibit, the sticky note. I'd scanned it, enlarged it, printed it on glossy cardstock. "Don't expect us to come to your wedding. We're busy." I held it up like evidence in a trial. "This is how you RSVP'd to the invitation. Allow me to return the gesture." I laid 3 envelopes on the table. Inside, legal notification of utilities disconnection, car transfer documents, now officially in my name, donation certificate in their names, their car, gifted to a shelter that helps abuse survivors. The room went silent. Then Tomas spoke up. "Easy. She framed me. Lied to everyone. And tomorrow I'm filing a civil suit." Lucia finally screamed. "I hate you," she shrieked, looking at me. Dad lunged towards me. Beatriz stepped between us. "You're lucky the lease fraud isn't being reported today," she said coldly. I turned to the restaurant staff. "Excuse the scene. We're leaving." But before I took a step, I leaned down to my father. "Do me a favor," I said. "Next time you write a note, don't stick it on my fridge. Stick it on your own mirror." The fallout was immediate. The night after the dinner, Tomas, Lucia's ex, posted a thread. Screenshots, recordings, dates, everything she'd done to him, everything she'd planned. In less than an hour, it was trending in our city. By morning, it had reached her work. By noon, she no longer had a job. That afternoon, I received a single message from her: "You ruined everything." I didn't respond. I just forwarded it to Tomas, who added it to his folder for the lawsuit. Dad disappeared. His Facebook profile vanished. His LinkedIn went invisible, but not before I'd sent an anonymous tip, documentation included, to his former employer about the forged lease agreement. Beatrice followed through. She reported him for digital fraud. The police haven't filed charges yet, but the investigation is open. Meanwhile, the apartment's utilities? Cut off. I waited exactly 72 hours after the confrontation to flick the final switch. Electricity off. Gas off. Internet off. The silence must have been deafening. They had two choices: find a new place to live or finally admit who kept the lights on for the past 5 years. They chose option 3, cry on Facebook. My mother's post read, "Family is supposed to forgive, not destroy. You don't cut off the people who raised you just because of mistakes." The comments were mixed. Some relatives offered the typical platitudes, "So sorry to hear this, sending you love." Others? Not so much. One cousin replied, "Didn't you once say Alejandro wasn't invited to Christmas because you didn't want to see his face?" That comment got 340 likes. Another added, "So forgiveness starts after the free rent ends?" Got it. My mother deleted the post in under an hour. Too late. I'd already screenshotted it and added it to my public file. Yes, I made it public. I created an entire folder on Google Drive. I called it "This is what family looks like." Inside, video of Dad yelling at a woman half his age in the restaurant, side-by-side captures of Lucia's fabricated messages, the sticky note at the center, proof of 27,000 euros in payments over 3 years, audio of my father saying, "You owe us everything." I didn't yell, I didn't plead for understanding. I let the facts bleed slowly, cleanly, coldly, undeniably. I uploaded the link to Reddit, then to Twitter, then sent it anonymously to a local blog called Silent Cuts, a community of people going no contact with toxic families. It exploded. Within days, I was being asked for podcast interviews. A YouTuber with 700,000 subscribers called it the most surgical family breakup I've ever seen. I didn't speak publicly once. The story spoke for itself. My phone blew up with calls. Dad left a voicemail that started calm, then crumbled. "You're turning everyone against us. You've destroyed your own name. No one's going to want a man who betrays his family." That one I kept. I tagged it "Final Threat." Lucia sent 3 texts. "You win. Good luck with your perfect wedding. I'm suing you for defamation." She didn't. Why? Because 2 days after her threat, I posted something new, a photo of the car donation certificate I'd taken from them, framed, hanging on the wall of a women's shelter in Valencia. Caption: "For every time they told me I only existed to serve. Now my name helps people who actually matter." The shelter messaged me privately, asked if I wanted to volunteer. I said yes. That same day, I unlinked every account associated with my family. Joint bank account, deleted. Phone plan, canceled. Apple Family sharing, removed. Even the old HBO Max account my father still used, deactivated mid-episode. I purged every digital and financial tie that bound me to them, and in its place, I built something new. I launched a Substack newsletter called "In Case You Wonder Why: Stories of Invisible Children, Silent Scapegoats, and Clean but Deep Wounds." In 2 weeks, 9,000 subscribers. 3 featured articles. A syndication deal. The second article was titled "The Sticky Note That Started a Revolution." It opened with a single line. "They said they were busy for my wedding, so I made sure they'd be busy missing everything else, forever." They never made it to the wedding. Of course, they tried. A week before the date, I received an envelope in the mail. No return address, but the handwriting was unmistakable, my mother's. Inside, a printed thread of emails, one between her and a local pastor I'd known since I was a kid. She was begging him to intervene, to help bring her son back into the fold. In her words, "He's being brainwashed by strangers on the internet. He's lost. We just want to see our boy get married." No apology, no mention of what they'd done. Just this fantasy where I was the one who'd gone off script. The pastor never replied. I framed that letter, hung it in my new home office, right next to a plaque that read, "Permanently busy." The wedding was simple. Just 42 guests. No drama. No blood relatives. My wife walked down the aisle in gold, not white, because we decided not to pretend this was a fairy tale. It was earned in battle, and we dressed like survivors. When we said our vows, I didn't promise to love her forever. I promised to love her out loud. To never again go silent like I did with my family. To never ask her to shrink so I could grow. My best man was Tomas, Lucia's ex. Yes, we became real friends. He ended his speech by saying, "Some people are born into family. Others have to claw their way out. I'd choose this one every time." The applause was louder than it should have been. Maybe because it was the first time I truly believed it too. I had one last attempt from my father. 3 days after the wedding, a voicemail. No hello, no congratulations. Just him breathing heavily and then, "You're making a name for yourself now, but don't forget your last name. It still comes from me." That was it. His version of a threat, as if legacy was a leash. I uploaded it to my Substack. Post title, "When the man who abandoned you still thinks he owns your initials." That post went viral. People started tagging me in photos of ripped-up sticky notes. A therapist printed out the article and hung it in her office. That's when I understood. I hadn't just moved on, I'd rewritten the ending. I never saw Lucia again, but I did get a letter from her lawyer. She wanted the car back. The one I donated. Claimed it was emotionally distressing to lose something symbolic. I mailed her a single thing, a USB drive. Inside, the video of her laughing with Nicholas in my old room, saying Alejandro's basically my credit card with legs. It's almost cute. Never heard back after that. 6 months later, I opened a new business account. Not a tech startup, not a podcast, an independent publishing house. Name: Yellow Note Press. Motto: we publish the stories family doesn't want told. First book? Mine. Title: Don't expect us to come to your wedding. We're busy. Dedication page: to the version of me who stayed silent. He deserved better. The book hit number 3 on the indie nonfiction charts. I didn't do a book tour, but I did give one interview on a local radio station. When they asked, "Would you ever reconcile?" I smiled and said I already did. With the truth. They were never my people. I changed my number the next day. No announcement, no messages, just silence. I was at the post office. Held the old SIM card over the trash can and let it drop. No one even noticed it was gone. That's when I knew. They weren't calling anymore. Not because they understood, but because they finally realized I don't answer to ghosts. Now I live in quiet. New apartment. No shared mailboxes. No shared accounts. No shared pain. My wife and I keep Sunday mornings sacred. We drink strong coffee, sit on the balcony, and sometimes, when a sticky note peels off a neighbor's fridge and drifts onto ours, we both laugh. Because now, when I see those yellow squares, I don't think of family. I think of fire. And how sometimes cutting the cord isn't enough. You have to burn the script.